everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Vinny Sinisi, and I'm out to lunch. I'm really fired up about today's podcast with the Chancellor of the Lone Star College System, Mario Castillo, not to be confused with the Houston City Councilman. He's a lot younger and probably a lot smarter. So thanks for coming, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Wow,
Thank you.
this is a great story for anybody that is maybe doubting themselves of becoming very, very successful. I mean, did you ever think that you'd have this job?
No, sir. Up until the moment they called, I actually didn't think I was going to actually get this job. Yes, sir.
So this is what's really great about it, and I'm a really big advocate of people that value their self and don't give up and just keep fighting. People tell them they can't do this, can't do that, and then they can. And you started out really just the son of a couple of Mexican immigrants, first generation.
That's right.
Right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so tell us. Don't be shy. This is not the time to be shy.
Okay. Yeah, so both of my parents are from a small town in Chihuahua, Mexico. It's literally called Rancho de Santiago. It's in southwestern Chihuahua. It was a mining town. Both of my families actually come from farming and mining. They were farmers and miners. And in the town that my parents grew up, again, they're from the same town. They just lived on opposite sides of the town. There was only an elementary school. So if you wanted to go to middle school, you had to leave. And this is as late as sort of the 60s, 70s. My dad was a child. If you wanted to go to middle school, you had to leave. So pretty much everyone in that town had to make the decision. If you wanted to go to middle school, you'd have to leave the town to go to the big city, which in that time was Chihuahua, which is
How far away was that?
Chihuahua was about probably, I want to say, 3 hours from the town.
Wow.
And in a world where people don't have running water, it was literally, I mean, when I was young, when I was in elementary school, there was one phone for the town. In fact, one of the really sought after jobs was the kid with the bicycle that would, so you would call, it's the craziest thing now to think about it. So this is like in the mid 80s, late 80s, even up until the early 90s. There was essentially one phone bank for the entire town. And so the most sought after job was to be the kid with the bicycle that you would call and say, I want to talk to Mario. Then you'd hang up, and then the runner would essentially go get whoever you wanted to talk to, get them to come to the phone bank, and then you would call again, and that's how you made phone calls.
So you'd get on the bike and...
Yeah, you'd get on the bike and go tell the person, hey, so you've got a son or a daughter that's about to call. You'd gather your stuff, come. And so just the idea of just having your own phone, for example, in your house was a really sort of revolutionary concept.
It's almost like having running water, right?
Yep. And so that was another thing. Like, you got to think about the type of resources that this community has where it doesn't have running water. You don't have a phone. You don't even have electricity. It was really sort of now and at the time you don't know any better. Right? At the time,
you think this is life.
You think this is how people live. And then you start learning, like, wait a minute, no, there's electricity, there's water heaters, there's running water, there's things of that nature. And so in that world, you can imagine that leaving to go to school was such a giant sacrifice. And again, we're not talking about college. We're talking about middle school.
Yeah.
Right? So my father did leave. So I have 12 aunts and uncles, or I did, on one side and 8 on the other. And so my dad was about middle of the pack. So when it was my turn for my father to go to middle school, my father had an older brother that was about 3 or 4 years that was already in the big city. And so my father was able to leave and essentially join his brother to go to middle school and then ultimately high school. Well, my mother was one of the elder ones in her family. And of course, as a woman, she wasn't allowed to sort of just move to the city by herself. And so that's why my mother didn't even go to middle school, really.
Crazy.
Yep.
So he had all those aunts and uncles. How many siblings?
So I have one brother, one sister, and then I have a half brother. So there's 4 of us, and I'm the eldest.
I mean, that's quite a cutback from, having 8 and 12. And
Yeah, well, it goes back to sort of, and again, at the time, I'm not educated well enough. I don't have enough context for it, but I can tell, like, it's really common in agrarian societies to have big families because the more people you have, the more people that can help on the farm. And
A lot of
so,
support.
yeah. So you move to the city, you don't need 12 hands anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
Bunch of Catholics.
yes, sir. Both of my parents are Catholic.
That's right. Our Catholics, our idea of birth control is Sunday.
Yeah, that's true.
During church.
Yep.
Most of the time. Sometimes that doesn't even happen.
I had like 20 aunts and uncles.
Yeah.
Pairings, and then,
So that journey changed when you were supposed to go to middle school.
yes, sir.
Okay, and then what? Y'all moved?
So what happened is so by the time I came along, my parents were already in the United States. And so we went back and forth a lot.
Oh, wow.
And so my parents, sometimes we went back and forth. There was a year or two, at least that I remember, particularly like in 3rd or 4th grade, where we went to Mexico and we just stayed there. And my dad lived over here in the United States.
He was a truck driver?
No, at the time he worked in a factory.
Oh.
No, a truck driving job is like you make it. Like it really is sort of, my father loved the freedom of it, being able to set his own hours. But at that time he worked in a factory. And then really, if you really go back to that period of time, it was really seasonal work. It was what work can we find for the season. And so some years my father got really good work. So we were able to stay with him. Some other years and times he wasn't. My mother, of course, also worked and maintained the home. And so we went back and forth between Mexico and the United States. I remember at least 3 or 4 times, and that's as long as I can remember. So I went to elementary school in Mexico and in California.
California?
Yes, sir. So we didn't come to Texas until I was in middle school.
So Chihuahua, geographically, is that towards the West Coast or for Texas?
So Chihuahua is the largest state in Mexico, and it borders most of Texas.
Okay, yeah.
So El Paso.
Great dogs.
I've never had a Chihuahua dog. El Paso is really sort of at the center of Chihuahua, and it goes all the way south to, in Texas, I think it goes all the way to like where Presidio is and Eagle Pass down there. Sure. And all the way to the west side.
Yeah, we know Eagle Pass because that was in...
It goes all the way to New Mexico. And so, yeah, that drive, right? I tell my kids all the time how good they have it with, they've got AC in the cars, iPads. And I'm like,
seatbelts.
Back in my day, I remember going through the Mojave Desert with no air conditioner. And our entertainment was you stared out the window.
Yeah.
And what was driving by, and that was it, man.
55 air conditioning. Yeah. 455, 4 windows down, 55 miles an hour.
Yeah. If you were lucky, if your car didn't overheat. Because there's a couple of times there where you had to keep
on I-10.
You had to keep it under a certain speed to not overheat the car. And even that, man, just being able to hit the accelerator on a car.
So you just backed up and went to freaking Cali?
Yeah, every year we went back and forth. So my dad went out to San Jose, California, before it was Silicon Valley. Because I always tell people I used to live in California, and they asked where, and I was like, San Jose. And then people are like, oh, and I'm like, no. It was before computers and all those folks sort of transformed that
farming.
Area. Yeah, and so we moved up there, and then about the mid-'90s, the year Selena was killed, actually, that's how I remember it. The year Selena was killed, we moved to Texas. It just became like the concern that most people have with California right now is just too expensive.
Yeah.
So that was a concern back then, and so...
So where did you do high school, in California?
No, I did high school. So I did middle school in California and in Texas.
Okay.
And then I did high school all in Garland, Texas.
Garland. That's where your mom is?
That's where my mother lives,
right.
Yes.
Okay. So first generation high school guy, right?
Yeah, on my mom's side, yeah. No, really, like going to middle school and high school was like revolutionary on my mother's side.
Well, your mom never finished, so you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, my mom never even really started middle school. Yeah, so my mom's family owned like a little convenience store, like a really small convenience store, so she had to not go to school to work the store.
Mom and dad are still alive?
Yep, both of them still alive. My dad actually just retired in October. I didn't actually think he was going to retire because he's one of these people that like told me all his life that he was going to work forever. My mom still works. So they're relatively young because when I was born, my mother was 16. My dad was 20. And so I just turned 43 this last week.
God bless America.
Yeah, my dad, I just turned 43 on Thursday.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
You're 43?
Yes, sir.
I have kids older than you. I feel really old now.
Yes, sir. No,
nice job, son.
Thank you. Thank you. So I just turned 43.
So tell me, because I love this story. I already know this story. You go to high school in Garland, and then what?
So I go to high school in Garland, and what happens
Hang on
is,
just a second. By the way, if you want one of these, reach out.
so I go to high school in Garland. I went to North Garland High School in Garland Independent School District, and I had a really hard time in high school for a bunch of reasons. Really hard time. And so there's also sort of something that we don't talk a lot about. So in my family, not only do we have a generational gap, which I see it now with my own kids, but there's also a cultural gap. And then now there's a sort of country of origin gap, right? And so unfortunately, my parents and we weren't able to really resolve that. And so I ended up moving out of my house when I was still in high school. And so I literally got into an argument with my father. He said, "If you don't like it, there's a door." I said, "All right, goodbye."
And where'd you go?
I went to go live with a friend. And so I finished high school on my own completely. And I went to the University of Texas.
I love you, man.
I went to the University of Texas on my own as well.
Yeah.
And so, when I went to UT, I had nothing. In fact, I had so little that when I got to UT, I lived in the Castillian dorm. Because again, I waited until the last minute. So I literally drove to Austin with nowhere to live, drove around and was like, where can I live? Because I didn't know if I was going to get financial aid in time or not. And I ended up living in the Castillian dormitory, which now is a really fancy place. But back then, I mean, I showed up in probably late August with nowhere to live, and it still had slots, so that tells you. And so I moved in, and there was nothing there. I unpacked. I think I had a backpack, but I had nothing. And so when I left and came back, there was someone else in the room. And I was like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "This is my room." They're like, "No, it's empty." And it wasn't empty. I had
Didn't have anything to put in it.
I had nothing. I had no sheets. Nothing.
Did you feel like, did your parents ever say, well, we're poor and you'll never make it? Or
Yeah, I mean,
this is our life
yeah.
and you're going to have the same life?
You know, my parents, both of them, to their credit, really believed in education.
Yeah.
I think that to some extent, like a parent now, right, you want to temper your child's dreams and expectations, not because you don't believe in them, but because you want to make sure that if they don't make it there, it's not too hard of a fall from what they thought. I think that's really what I would describe it to. My parents were very like, well, you know, if you don't end up being A, B, or C, like that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But my father always had incredibly high expectations. My father very much instilled in me, you know, we're immigrants. We gave everything we knew up for you, essentially. So it was a lot of responsibility of like, I left all my friends behind. Sometimes the government doesn't want us here. We have to learn a new language. We have to like do all these things. And we're doing it with the hope that you will have it better than us. And so for me, it was a great deal of responsibility and a lot of pressure. And so that's how I would categorize it.
What'd you take it at UT? What was your major?
Government. I always wanted to be a lawyer. So I always wanted to be a lawyer.
Don't hold that against him.
So when I went to when I went to college, it was very much like this is a speed bump on the way to law school. Like, what do I need to do here to get to law school? And so for me, I mean, I can tell you, like, I started law school a week after I graduated from the University of Texas. Like, I didn't even take that last summer off.
And tell everybody where.
I went to Indiana. University in Bloomington. Yeah.
You got to be like walking on cloud nine. I mean, national champions.
Yeah. No, at the time, they were not the college football.
Oh no!
But that was just another investment that I made that really has paid off on the football the football field now.
As an Italian, by the way, the head coach. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yeah, no, Coach Sig has done a really great job up there, and really I follow him a great deal because he has a winning tradition. He can be sort of very confident, but he backs it up. And, you know, one of my favorite quotes is, you know, Google me, I win. And that's true. He did everywhere he went.
Yeah. It's funny because my freshman year I had a guy named Tim Supple, and he transferred to go to Indiana. And there was a movie out called Breaking Away.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
He was in that movie.
Oh, wow.
Vince, I'm in a movie. He was the blonde guy in the cafeteria that started all the fights.
Oh, nice.
That's a perfect.
I have to watch it again now.
So that's my, you know, otherwise, most people don't even know where Indiana University is until this year, right?
I learned, you know, then that's what's really amazing. I have like Hoosier stuff from back then, and I still wear it. And so I have a hoodie, for example, and I've had people for years ask me what a Hoosier was.
Yeah.
What is a Hoosier? And now I don't have to explain it now. And now when I get accused of, oh, you're a fair weather fan, I'm like, listen, folks, I went to this law school 20 years ago now, paid tuition there. I've earned the right to sort of claim this football team. And so, so that's where I went to law school. So I went to college. I was estranged from both of my parents for about 4 or 5 years. It was actually meeting my wife, who's from Houston, which is why we live in the area now. My wife had a very positive relationship with her parents, and she's like, it's not right that you don't speak to your parents. And so it was actually a lot of prompting from my wife to sort of
Nice.
patch things up.
Yeah, women are cool. They get it. They're stronger than we are. Absolutely.
And so that's actually what led to me sort of no longer being estranged with my parents, because it was
awesome.
It was a really tough 4 to 5 years there.
All right, so UT, undergraduate, go get your law degree at Indiana.
Yep.
And then how'd you end up here?
So when I went to law school, I've always wanted to serve my country. And so I went to law school hoping to join the JAG Corps, the Marine Corps in particular, or go work in national security. So most of my schoolwork back then was around national security matters. And so I actually applied and was given a conditional job offer to work for the CIA. And so I had to go through the top secret clearance and all of that. And it just took so long. Because of all my foreign-born relatives.
It's my Secret Service flag that I got from Tom Bolsh from an earlier podcast.
And so it took so long, because I have so many foreign-born relatives, that by the time the CIA came back around to tell me you're good, I had already gotten a job in Brownsville, Texas.
Nice.
And so once I give someone my commitment, because they never told me that I was for sure going to pass the background clearance. I didn't know what they were looking for. But once I give someone my commitment that I'm going to do a thing, I do that thing. And so I'd given my commitment to the judge that I worked for at the time that I was going to come work for him. And so by the time they came and showed up, I was already committed to the judge, and I had to pass on that and say I'm going to stay with the judge. So I worked for the judge for 4 years right after law school down there in the Brownsville division of the Southern District of Texas. And I'll tell you how I ended up in Houston. One, my wife followed me around everywhere. So I went to Austin, and I went to Bloomington, and my wife followed me around. We got married in 7, so I was a 2. We actually got married here in the Woodlands.
Oh, wow.
And so my reception was actually at the Woodlands Resort Center. So it was actually one of the first few times that I had been to the Woodlands. And so my wife is from Kingwood. And so when we were moving from the judge's chambers, I let my wife pick. I said, wherever you want to plant our flag, that's where we'll move. And so she picked Houston, and so we live over in Humble because her parents at that time lived in Kingwood. And so
did you meet her during your undergraduate?
Yes, sir. I met her the weekend after September 11th. So I was a freshman in college when September 11th happened. I met my wife the very next weekend.
And it's been that way ever since.
We started dating on April 23rd, 2002. I'm a dates guy. So April 23rd, 2002.
You're a weirdo.
So next year is actually our 25th anniversary of being together.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
And golly, and you got a couple kids?
Yes, sir. Got an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Nice. Boy, girl?
One of each.
Yeah.
And so, so we live over in Humble, and she teaches at Humble ISD. She's a school teacher.
So you drive over. Where's your office? In the Woodlands?
So I have 2. We have 2. One here in the Woodlands that's on Research Forest, and there's another one on 249 in Louetta.
Yeah.
And so I alternate. So today I'm here in the Woodlands all day. I was here in the Woodlands on Friday.
Nice.
Tomorrow I'll be on Louetta and 249. So yes, sir, I commute, but they get to walk to school, which is part of the reason that we haven't moved.
Okay. You ready?
Sure.
I want to know about Lone Star Community College.
Well, how I got roped in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you started out as a lawyer for them, right?
Yeah. So my wife got a job, because school teachers are much more demand than lawyers. So my wife got a job before I did. So when I was in Brownsville, I was at a meeting and someone asked me, what do you plan on doing in Houston when you get there? And I was like, I guess I'm going to be a house husband because I don't have a job. I had already given my notice.
Mr. Mom.
And I said, I guess I'm going to be, we didn't have kids then. So I was like, I guess I'll just hang out. Someone asked me, they're like, how do you feel about labor and employment? And, my father raised me to be a man that provides first and a man that enjoys his job second. And so I said, listen, I'll do whatever it takes. I'm about to be married and I have responsibilities. So if it's a job, then I'll do it. And that's actually how I ended up in labor and employment. People, I don't have some like deep calling to labor and employment law. So I ended up being a labor and employment lawyer. And then I end up getting board certified in labor and employment law. I made partner by the time I don't think I was even 30 by the time I made partner at my law firm. And so Lone Star becomes one of our biggest clients. And so I'm at Lone Star all the time because for a while there, unfortunately, we had a lot of HR related issues. And so for about a year or two, I'd been telling at the time it was President Head. I got to know Dr. Head very well because Dr. Head at the time was the president of North Harris. And right around the time that Chancellor Head became Chancellor Head, I became a partner at my law firm. And so he and I worked really close together. And, one of the things about being outside counsel is you're constantly put in a position where you have to criticize internal processes and internal things. And Chancellor Head was like, I have a vacancy. You're always here. Why don't you just come work here? And I've always been a real big family man. And so I worked at Lone Star 11 years and my daughter's 11. Right. And so my daughter made me a father. And so whenever my daughter was born, I knew I had to make some life changes because I didn't mind the law firm life. I didn't mind it, but I wanted to be around more for my kiddos. And so that's why I've worked at Lone Star 11 years and my daughter's 11. And so Chancellor Head, I think very tactily told me, you're a dad, you want to spend more time with your kiddo, come work at the college. It ended up working out that way, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so I came to work at Lone Star in 2015 as the general counsel. And then one of the areas that I was constantly sort of giving feedback about was HR. In 2016, Chancellor Head promotes me to vice chancellor and gives me HR. So now I have legal and HR. 2 years later, he puts me in charge of all emergency management and the police department and all of that, and makes me the COO in 2017. So from 2017 to 2023, I was a COO. I was also the college president of Kingwood there for about a year during the pandemic. But I always tell people that when I was the president of Kingwood, it was like that movie I Am Legend, because it was just me. Because it was in the middle of the pandemic, right? And so you're like walking around and it's just you by yourself. And I always joke, Dr. Gonzalez, who's the current president of Kingwood, that literally the day we opened up the campuses again was her first day. And so I never got to experience being a college president with people on the campus. So then I came back to and I was all three, by the way. I was a college president, I was a CEO of the system, and I was a chief legal officer at the same time.
How many campuses now?
We have 7 main campuses in the online college, about 27 locations.
Yeah. I mean, so I've told you this story, and my good friend Dan Hauser from 1980. And I was working with Dan in the Woodlands in 1985 with Kevin Brady. He was the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and Dan was the president of the bank. And we were all good friends because in 1980, there was only like 10,000 people in the Woodlands. So Dan came to me one day and said, Vinny, you're not going to believe this. We're gonna take North Harris County Community College and we're going to expand it up into the Woodlands. I said, great idea. I'm big into education too, right? And I said, where are you going to put it? He said, 242. And I said, 242 is not even there yet. I said, nobody's going to go out to 242 to get a college education. And now the flyover and the traffic on 242, getting ready to do the flyover into 242 East. And I'm like, isn't that amazing the way this thing has just evolved?
Yeah, and it's super amazing. And that's one thing that I keep track of is we're such a big service area, 2,700 square miles, that we have areas like, for example, we just opened up the Magnolia Center the Magnolia Center, which is having like explosive.
That's all I got.
The explosive growth. Right, Magnolia has doubled in the last few years, right, in population size. So you have areas like that, like what is now Lone Star College Montgomery on 242, Cypher over on the west side. And then you have kind of, because the city of Houston has sort of grown, right, the population. Mm-hmm. I remind people that there was a point where Greens Point was the outer rim.
Oh yeah.
right? And we have a college out there, North Harris, that now as people have sort of moved further and farther north, is kind of not seeing that growth. And so part of the challenges of being chancellor is, okay, I've got some areas that are really blowing up, like Montgomery, Magnolia, Cypher, and then I have other areas like Houston North and North Harris where the strategies have to be different because there isn't that growth, there isn't that population
Do you think
growth.
those people are maybe growing up and completing their life pretty much with retiring and then they're moving out?
I think it's different groups for different people. I think there's some people like in these northern parts, we are competing with the major universities, right? Because it's UT, A&M, or Lone Star, for example, or even Sam Houston or those other schools. In the more inner part, the southern part of our area, it's college or no college. For a lot of those folks, it's the opportunity cost of not working to go to college is just more than those folks can afford in a large part.
I was reading an article today. 50 years ago, 10% of kids went to college. Now it's like 60%, 65%, except I always tell young kids, I said, college isn't for everybody. You don't go to college just because you want to go to college.
Correct.
And then you get out 4, 5, 6, or 10 years later with, a couple $100,000 in debt. And you got to work the rest of your life just to pay that off.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, Lone Star is the best bang for the buck, in my opinion. You agree?
Look, that's agreed. I tell you what, like I graduated with a total of $185,000 in student debt, 185 grand. And so a lot of people, and I just recently
Without a
paid
job.
without a job, correct. A lot of people don't really internalize what a student loan payment is like at those sums, right? My mortgage was less than my student loan payment for many years, for example, on my house. And so one of the things that I tell students is, hey, right now it just seems like this ephemeral, abstract thing that you're going to have to pay student loan. How do you feel about waking up, making $55,000 a year and having to pay $3,000 a month in student loans?
Right.
Because that's what you're signing up for.
And you can get, obviously, a 4-year degree. What's the most popular degree? Is it cyber?
So for us, I wish it was cyber, because if I were going to college right now, that's what I'd do, cyber. The unemployment is really low, which means those jobs are really in demand with the advent of AI and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Just computers are just a sound investment. Right now, most of our students graduate with an Associate of Arts degree. That's what they do. And most of them are transferring to the universities. But we have, I think, 2 tracks, right? We have college for the people that don't want to go to the universities. And every year, for example, we graduate about 3,500 people across the system that wasn't their goal. When they showed up, they wanted to get a welding certificate or an HVAC certificate or even those degrees because they want to start their own businesses or they want to go work for small businesses and things of that nature. So we have a not insignificant part of our student graduation rates that are just workforce.
And we need those
Yes, sir.
tech people, those
I mean, like I can tell you
trades.
this, HVAC during the summer, those are some of the most.
That's job security.
Yeah, that.
You just said it, even for your car.
Like think about that for a second. How much would you pay someone to come fix your AC in July?
My neighbor had AC guy over there this morning when I was walking my dog. I'm like, well, it's not even hot yet.
Because right now, you're smart if you're having them look at it right now, because in the heat of summer, for example, July, August, and I've had an AC break in July, August, it gets to the point where you want to pay anything. It's brutal.
Yeah.
And so we have about 3,500 students that that's their goal.
Nice.
And so I agree with you completely.
That's a first.
College is not for everyone. I tell people all the time, unless you have a plan, don't come. And in fact, that's been one of the strategies that I've implemented the last 3 years is, if students come to our school and enroll and they're not better off, then we really did them a disservice. Students should be better off, because that's really the best marketing that we have at the college is, if you're sitting like you and I are sitting right here and you say, hey, I went to Lone Star, and I ask you, what'd you get out of it? I don't know, a bunch of debt and the same job I could have gone without it, then you're not going to convince me that it's valuable, right? But if I see you and you're working, you have a good paying job and steady benefits, even benefits. For a long time, I wrote a book on the Affordable Care Act, and I had the hardest time convincing my dad to buy health insurance. right? And he's like, what do you know? I'm like, Dad, I'm literally a nationwide expert in healthcare benefits. I wrote an entire book on the Affordable Care Act, Dad. No,
I'm gonna go drive my truck.
I'm good. Yeah, I don't need healthcare. Thank you. And so even like that, right? Like things that a lot of us take for granted, like benefits, working Monday through Friday, right? Like having a predictable schedule. A lot of the people that come to my institution, that's what they're after. They're not after sort of being millionaires or really sort of that life. They're, can I have a predictable schedule so I can hang out with my family, steady income to do the basic things that my family needs to do.
Have some options too.
Have some options.
They can have their own business or go
Have
to
their
work
own
with
business,
someone.
right? And so there's a lot of sort of paths for that. And to go back, you know, our tuition is about $1,200 for in-state, in-district, $1,200 for a semester of full load. And
$1,200.
you can't even get books for that much at some of these colleges, right? And so let me just tell you what I tell people. I'm like, look, my own kids are probably going to go to Lone Star if they listen. You know, when kids turn 18,
Free tuition.
Yeah. Well, free because I'm going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be because of my carrot is if you go here, I'll pay for it. But I'll tell you, like, when you look at sort of that part of it, right? $1,200 a semester to go to class sizes that are 30 or less, because that's our course cap.
Right.
30 or less. You walk into a classroom, a faculty member knows your name, knows about you. Or you can do what I did because I didn't know any better. Go to the University of Texas, for example, and sit in a lecture hall with 1,000 other people. You know, I didn't even wear glasses before I went to college. I learned that I needed eyesight help when I went and sat in a lecture hall at the University of Texas, and I couldn't see the board.
Yeah.
The rooms were so big that I couldn't see the blackboard that the TA, not the professor, that the TA was writing on. And that's what I told him. I was like, look, at our college, we have people that could teach at those universities that for whatever reason choose not to. You have a small class size, 30. Faculty will keep track of you, know your names. And then you can go to those universities and do just as well, if not better. In fact, the data shows that if you come to Lone Star, you actually tend to outperform the students like me who go to the universities all 4 years. And you graduate with much less debt.
You know, the campuses are really nice. I mean, you know, we opened this a couple months ago.
Yep.
I walked in, I was like, Jesus, this is nice.
Yeah. They are really nice. You know, again, I've gone to 2 flagship universities, one of Indiana and one of Texas. And our facilities are right up there with those places. You know, our property management folks do a really good job. I mean, if you go to our colleges, you'd have to know it's a community college, right? Because a lot of people sort of have this image of a community college. And you show up at our locations, and I mean, we have world-class facilities, literally award-winning facilities. You know, we just actually got notice that we actually just earned our BREEDM certifications for our landscaping and our horticulture.
Nice.
You know, we're trying to be an APA level 1. For those that you don't know, APA is how they measure the quality of landscaping and property services, APA level 1. We're just trying to be the best at everything that we do. And, you know, we also lowered the tax rate. We gave a homestead exemption for the first time a couple of years ago since I've become the chancellor. And so we're doing our best to maximize the amount of dollars that we're spending towards the student, minimize the amount of overhead and waste that we have, while, again, trying to be the best at sort of not just facilities instruction. Every part of it has to be top-notch.
What's the largest college in the state of Texas? Go ahead, you can say it.
The largest college? Well, I can tell you that Lone Star College is the largest community college.
How many?
We have, as of the spring, we have 97,000
97, yeah.
students.
Because everything you read is 91, 95. And when I saw you a couple months ago, like, I know it's more than that now.
Yep. So, yeah. So when I took over, it was about 85. Then it was 91 last year, and then 97. And so when you start doing that math, you start seeing that we have, now to be clear and be transparent, some of those students take classes at multiple colleges. So we aggregate, right? But really, when you think about it, when the freshman class at a regional or major university is smaller total than our growth, that tells you where people are going. Yeah. Right? Like, that tells you, like, people are starting to see the value of, and it's part of a sort of a larger higher ed conversation where people are like, I can go to this school get massive amounts of debt, or I can come over here, get just as good, if not a better education.
I agree.
For far less, and then still have the freedom to do whatever I want to do. Because that's really, for me, when I talk to students, that's what I tell them. I said, debt is a lack of freedom, right? I went to law school with people that had no choice but to go work for companies and law firms that they would have never touched 3 years earlier. But because they had the responsibility now of paying those student loans, you don't sell your soul all at the same time. It's little by little.
I went to a college, excuse me, up in upstate New York, a state university college, kind of like, UT Austin, UT Prairie View, UT San Antonio. It was a state university system. And I was a biology major, a chemistry major, had a math minor. I published a paper on transfer RNA when I was 19. And people say, well, what are you doing with all that? I said, well, here's what I'm doing with my degree. I sell a lot of real estate, okay? But I tell my wife all the time, I said, it's not about the degree so much as the motivation to go get it done.
Correct.
To be out partying until 2 and 3 in the morning. I did my share of that. You got to get up for that 8 o'clock class.
That's right.
And I thought you had to get out of there in 4 years, okay?
Yeah.
I didn't know you could stay longer. Unless you can an Ivy League school.
If you can afford it, right? Like, no, for me, it was very much like I told you. Like me, I got to college and I was like, I got 4 years and I got to go.
Yeah.
And in fact, part of the reason I went to Indiana is because Indiana was one of the few college law schools that would let you start in the summer like that. Like I was in that big of a hurry. Like, let's get this thing going because 7 years is already long enough. And so, no, look, going to college. This is why I tell people all the time: going to college is. When we think about this, really think about this, right? When people talk about their college's experiences, sadly, 9 times out of 10, it's not something they learned in a classroom, right? It's not. It's the socialization, right? How to balance the priorities of. I remember when I got to UT. I still had to work and go to school. So I remember. Like there was a party every night if you wanted to go somewhere, right? And so part of the discipline is, okay, I'm going to only party on Friday and Saturday night because that'll give me a day or two to recover.
Guilty.
Right? And then I got to law school. And law school was really different for me because as a first-year law student at Indiana, you weren't allowed to work. And so this is the first time. Yeah. This was the first time that I just have school. Going back to ever. Because from when I was like 12, 13 years old, we had to work. Right? My very first job was pushing a little ice cream cart all the way to literally law school.
Your parents instilled that in you, right? I mean, we're workers, right?
No, my dad was like, you have to be a worker. Laziness was really like the worst quality in my household. And my father, to his credit, and my mother, they were very much, everything can be done with excellence. I remember my mother many times saying, we don't have to have new things. We don't even have nice things because those things may not be in our control, but we have control over how clean our things are. And so I can tell you that we didn't live in great places, but our places were immaculate.
Did we have the same mother? Because my mother said, I don't care what you do as long as you're the best at it. I'm like, well, there's no pressure there, Mom.
Yeah, no, like one of the quotes that I attribute to my father all the time, of course I'm translating for your audience because these were in Spanish, but one of the things that I tell my dad used to say all the time was, son, if someone hands you a broom, you teach them how a room should be swept. Right? Nice. And even like sweeping a room, mowing a lawn, vacuuming, which was one of my few jobs. One of my first jobs, my mom used to clean houses when I was little. And one of my first jobs was going with her and vacuuming everything. And my mother was like one of those folks. It's like you had to see the lines in the carpet and like all the lines had to perfectly like go the entire length of the room. And things like that, right? Like when you vacuum, there must be lines. When you sweep, you make sure that you get every piece of it.
It has to be perfect.
When you swipe, when you wipe, this is a thing that I notice all the time. When people are wiping down counters, do you move things and wipe underneath them and behind them? Or do you just like wipe around them, right? When you go to the grocery store, do you put the cart back?
Oh,
right? That's a big one. Like
there's a whole cart narcs on Facebook.
Yeah, no, and when I show up to a park, I always park. I try to park next to the little things. Yeah. Because I have empathy for those for 2 reasons. One of my first jobs was a cart attendant at Target. And two, and just to show you like how disconnected culturally I was, my very first day at Target, and I'll never forget this, I was 15 years old and I showed up to work at Target and it was Black Friday. Now at the time I didn't know it was Black Friday and I had no idea what Black Friday was. So they give me this job and they're like, can you show up the Friday after Thanksgiving? And I'm like, sure, no problem.
Doesn't everybody?
Yeah, and I'm like, great, I can start Friday. I don't have to wait till Monday. And so I show up, and it was such pandemonium that I ended up doing returns all day long because we just kept returning stuff. And then remember, I'm the new guy, so I don't even know where the stuff goes. So I literally spent all day like acclimating myself with the store. But no, my father was very much like, everything you do with excellence. And over the course of a lifetime, I mean, that's how I became chancellor by the time I was 40.
What are your siblings doing?
So my sister's also a school teacher, and she's college educated. So when I graduated from law school, my sister came to live with me. I was actually my sister's caretaker. My sister and I are about 9 years apart, and so my sister was still in high school at that point. And by that point, my parents were divorced, and my dad was a truck driver, so my dad was never really home. So when I graduated from law school, I called my father up and I said, hey, I would like to take over taking care of my sister. So my sister came to live with me.
Nice.
And so I was actually like her high school parent. And I was 25, 26 at the time. So I remember when I would show up at the high school, people were like, are you her brother? Yes. Well, her parent has to come. I'm like, no, I'm her lawful guardian as well. So I got to do the whole moving her into college thing. And
Nice.
I've already experienced one time of my sister got into the University of Texas at Austin, but didn't go. She went somewhere else. And so we had to have that whole conversation about, so I already know, like, just because you want something for your children or your family doesn't mean that they're going to do that. So she ended up going to the University of North Texas in Denton. So driving her up there, doing that whole thing. The prom dresses, all of that. I kind of have a little bit of experience, which has helped me now because now I have an 11-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And so I've already had like a dry run.
I've done this.
I have a dry run with it. And my brother lives in Dallas. He tried moving down here for a year. So none of us are from Houston. My sister now lives in Houston. My brother gave it a shot for a year, but he said the traffic was too crazy.
Here?
Yeah, he moved down here with his new wife for about a year. And then he's like, the traffic is too crazy. And then he moved up back to Dallas. He lives around the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
And then you have a step
I have
brother?
a half brother.
Half brother.
Yep. And so he's estranged from us, to be honest with you, because the age gap is so he was born after I was already in college.
Yeah.
So there's like a 19-year difference between the two of us. So I don't see him. But here's the funny part. His name is Mario.
What?
And he's the junior. So we're both Marios. That's why I'm Mario K Castillo. But he's Mario Castillo, the junior.
That's like George Foreman. They named all the kids George.
Yeah, that's it. So if you're the first and you're a junior, don't take that for granted because it doesn't have to be that way.
Make sure that when you Google Mario Castillo, it's the guy from Lone Star.
Yeah, that's why it's always Mario K Castillo, because Mario Castillo is the councilman. And it's really crazy because now, like, we get each other's emails.
Do you really?
Yeah, so people will, I guess, I don't know if they're using AI or I don't know, but people will email me and be like, council member, da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, when are we getting...
And I'm like, wrong Mario Castillo, and the reverse has also happened. And so, no, that's why I always use the K, always in my communications to distinguish us.
What's the future for the college? We're doing more campuses? Because I know that, I was a board member at the chamber for the Southwest Montgomery County. And you promised that, because it was 10 years in the rears, that you were going to get this campus built.
Yes,
and
sir.
you were going to do it in, you're a numbers guy. You were going to do it in 603 days, and they did it in 580. What were the numbers?
Yeah, it was, we promised it, I believe, in 586, and it ended up being somewhere in like 525 or something like that, 530. We were like a month ahead.
We had great weather.
Yeah, no, we got great weather. But again, like, we got to lock it in. That's what I tell. And I remember, because I was just at another meeting with someone that was at that very first meeting when I came to that chamber. And, so this is what my father used to say, the best apologies change behavior. People don't want to hear that you're sorry. People don't want to hear your excuses or your reasons. What they want is for you to change your behavior so that the next time the same thing happens, you don't react the same way. And then two, it's another thing that was my dad is he always say it's okay to not know anything once. To not know it twice is a sin.
Do you have like a book with all his
No,
quotes?
they're all up here. Because I'm telling you, I heard them so much.
Yeah.
I heard them so much that I hear, and now I have my own kids, so I'm starting to hear my own father. In the end, we all turn into our fathers.
Oh, yeah.
I think. I hear myself telling my kids that, but that's how I started, right? Like, hey, it's taking 10 years. No excuses. Y'all don't want to hear how we got here. All you want to hear is how we're going to get this open.
Yeah,
and
when
when.
you open in the door. Yeah.
And so I can tell them when we did it, I mean, we built that center in lightning time for a public institution, and it was really all hands on deck. There was no detail too small with that center that didn't get floated up to me immediately because we needed to make sure that we took care of it. But to answer your first question, there really is no expansion plans anymore. I inherited, so I'm the third chancellor of the Lone Star College system. Like you mentioned earlier, we changed our name back in the early 2000s. I'm the fifth chancellor overall, and so both of my predecessors, to their credit, both Dr. Head and Dr. Carpenter, really sort of set this massive footprint of the institution. And my chancellorship, I think, is much more about how do we run what we have better. Right. So how do we turn the 100 students at Magnolia Center into 3,000? How do we make it to where people don't say, why should I go to the Magnolia Center of Lone Star College? But like I said at the opening, where it becomes, why wouldn't I go there? Why wouldn't I go to Magnolia Center? It's right there. It's affordable. The credentialing and instruction is great. And that's sort of my mission is how do we provide better for what we have? Our real big expansion probably in the next 3 to 4 years is going to be online. We're really going to lean into online education.
You see so many ads on TV about, South Dakota.
Sure. And that's how we're going to compete, because we're not going to try to compete with those all online colleges, right? But here's sort of the value proposition. If you sign up for an online college right now, all you have is online. So if you want to go talk to a person in person, good luck, right?
Yeah.
But at Lone Star, we have 27 locations. So part of what we're going to do is you can take your classes all online, but if you need a human to go talk to, you can go to any of the 27 locations. We're also about to start offering a bunch of the trades online, which the reason online colleges can't do it is because they don't have the physical brick and mortar to offer. Right? The face-to-face instruction, well, we can. So we're actually in the middle right now of developing a HVAC program that's all online to start. And then when you need to come do the physical part of it, we're thinking of opening one, like, for example, overnight for people that have to work the night shift, right? So that you could literally come to Lone Star at 2 o'clock in the morning and we can get you equipped to do HVAC, for example, online, or you can go to any of the locations.
You can build a house without a person anymore. Those concrete with when you can do, I'm going to think of it, just stay with me. The machines that, like 3D printers, they have huge 3D printers that build houses with concrete, and there's a whole community, I think in Dallas, that has a whole neighborhood that's built with huge 3D printers.
And that's really scary for people that, like, that's their livelihood, right? So what I tell people like that is, okay, let's upskill you to get you to know how to do AutoCAD, for example, right? Or someone has to control those machines. Someone has to do the programming for those machines. So that's a big part of what we're trying to meet the need of is, sure, AI is going to take these jobs, but just like everything else, right? I'm looking at this picture right here. When these old cars were first invented, saddle makers lost their jobs. Right, but if you learn how to work an engine, then you were good.
Sure.
Right, and then after engine now with that, I mean, I love cars, but you pop a hood on one now, and you try to work on a car, you can't because there's too many electrical components. Hybrids are a sort of different beast altogether, and so you got to find skills for people in that new economy, and that's part of what becoming really flexible is about for us. Is we're here to fill the community's needs, not our preconceived notions of what the community needs.
Well, the story is incredible. And the first time I met you, we talked a little bit about this. So I knew I had to have you on the show because just you really came from nothing. I mean, pretty much dirt poor. Mm-hmm. Had to drive to go to school in a different state. Yeah. and then, you get a high school education, you get a college education, you get your law degree, and it's just phenomenal. People that are feeling like, oh well, I can't make it. I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, you can start right at Lone Star College, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's literally our mission. We changed the mission of our entire institution, and it literally is this, literally word for word. We offer transformational educational opportunities to help individuals get from where they are to where they want to be. That's it. Like we don't judge where that, for some people it can be an 8-week certificate to get a better job. For other people it can be a doctorate, right? And that's one of the really cool things about Lone Star is that you can have people that are literally there for 8 weeks just trying to get a certificate to get a little bit better job than what they had. And then what's really cool about that institution that I really love and is part of the calling is you have people that are like, let me get this 8-week certificate because that's as much as I can handle. Then, okay, I got that. Now let me get the level 2 one. Then, okay, I can maybe do this. Let me do an associate's degree.
yeah.
And before you know it, you've got people. I was looking at one of our students the other day that just got a PhD from Yale.
Oh,
right?
Awesome.
And he's doing all sorts of and he's like 26, 27. He has like double PhDs from Yale. Like everything after Lone Star was essentially Ivy League. And, that's what we tell people. Like, look, you can come to Lone Star and you can go to Yale. You can go to Princeton. You can go to Harvard. Like, you can go wherever you want. You just have to sort of inform yourself about what it is that you want. And here's the thing. It allows you to do things because you're not in massive debt. And I really genuinely believe that Lone Star is the best value in higher education.
I've always said knowledge is power.
Oh, incredibly so.
And you're an avid reader.
I am.
And an Iron Man.
Huh? Yeah.
Did you do the Woodlands?
I did.
Did you finish?
I did.
Show
in
off.
2023.
This guy's an overachiever, okay?
You know what's funny? When I was driving over here, I still have like trauma from like the different... Because, y'all are driving around the Woodlands and it's like a beautiful, community. And it is. But for me, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's where I almost puked. That's where I was like, why am I doing this?
Where I almost drowned.
Yeah. Let me tell you, when you have swam down that waterway and swallowed some of that water and hit the concrete sides and you're sitting at one of those restaurants, you look at that waterway very differently than you would otherwise.
Yeah.
And so that's what I see now, right? Like I see these, oh yeah, because I've also done the Woodlands Marathon. And so that's the other thing that like I see sort of, oh yeah, this is where I turned at mile 22 trying to barely survive because that was actually my first marathon ever 7 years ago.
How do you have time to train for the Ironman and marathons, and you got kids, you got a cool job? I mean, you're very engaged in your job, and
so I get two things.
Scheduling.
One is my wife. My wife is incredible. I always tell people without my wife, I would not be anything that I am. She's been so incredibly supportive that it's even hard for me to talk about because, to be quite candid with you, my wife is just such a foundational pillar of all of my success. From my family to my work. And so my wife has been incredibly supportive. And, my wife has a t-shirt that says, I survived my husband's Ironman training. And it's true. She earned it because, from the bike rides to the running, she was incredible. And I didn't know how to swim. That was the other thing. I don't know if I've told you. I didn't know how to swim.
Well, you're a Mexican. Sorry. I couldn't resist that one.
And what's funny is that's actually why I never learned to swim. That's part of it.
Really?
To fight that bias, if we're going to be honest about it. That's why, because when I was young in California, people would always sort of use all names against me and sort of call me names, like wetback and other things that. And I'm like, guys, I don't even know how to swim. If I try to cross that river, I'd die, right? Like it's that easy. Like I die. And so there was almost like if I don't learn how to swim, people will not question my Americanness. Right. And so that's part of the reason I never learned. I actually learned here in the Woodlands at the Y there on Shadow Bend.
Did you really?
That's where I signed up to take swimming lessons at the Y right across the street from our system office there. And so I would come in the mornings around 5 to 6 a.m.
Did you have a coach?
Yep. Megan is the name of my coach. And so
it's a little different swimming in a pool where you can see everything and then you get in the waterway and it's like a blinder on there.
So let me tell you, my first open water swimming was at Lake Conroe.
Oh, that's just as bad.
In February.
Oh,
And you have no frame of reference. So Megan was like, "Hey, we're gonna go up to Lake Conroe, and you're gonna jump in this water, and it's like 52 degrees." And I'm like, "52 degrees? That's not that bad. 52 degrees swimming, very bad."
yeah.
And so no, like I had to conquer all of that. I'd almost drowned a couple times, and so I had to learn how to do. Even swimming to do Ironman, but that's part of it. Again, sort of the discipline that I need to learn how to do this.
Face your
It's not
fears.
safe. I got to face it. And it took me like 3 months. And just to get across, like if you've ever been to that Y, there's a line
yeah.
about probably 10, 20 feet into the lane where it drops off into 10 feet. And for months, I could not get across that line. As soon as I saw that line, I don't know what happened. I
can't
panicked,
touch.
and I got to turn around. And so it took 3 months just to swim
That is
before
crazy.
25. And then 2 years later, yeah, I did the over 2 miles, right, in the swim. And so yeah, no, that's part of it. And so yeah, no, I did that. But the other thing too is I'm not idle ever.
Duh.
Like ever. Ever. Like if I am at home, I'm usually like I don't watch TV sitting on the couch. I watch TV on a treadmill. Right. And so like I will turn on the TV and watch an hour of television and run the whole time. And so it's very rare for me to be idle. I'm always sort of up and doing something. So that's it. I mean, we all have the same amount of time. And one of the commitments I made when I leave this earth, I want to leave on E, empty. Nothing.
Well, 43. He's going to leave this earth in another 60 years.
See, but we don't know that.
The actuary,
like,
I know.
We don't.
The
we
actuary
don't know that,
charts for your kids is 120 years. The actuary chart is exponential now. It's not linear like when I was growing up.
Yeah, and so like. No, so for me, like that, my wife and just having I have a lot of discipline, man. Like,
oh yeah,
my wife, that's one of the biggest compliments that people can give me. And my wife gives me all the time. It's like, you're the most disciplined person I know. Because when you don't feel like doing something, that's exactly when you should do the thing.
Yeah.
And that's actually the slogan now of our college, do the thing.
If you want to be successful, when you don't feel like doing it,
that's when you got to do it.
Yeah. So is she a good cook?
My wife, an excellent cook.
What's your favorite meal?
She makes a lot of really good meals.
A lot of Mexican dishes? Or
No.
Is she Italian?
No, my wife is white and German.
Oh, so Wiener Schnitzel.
My wife is wife in German. Yeah, her maiden name is Gathman with 2 N's. So she's a really good cook. So I'm having a hard time. Like it's all good, man. Like most, I don't.
Like if you were gone for 2 weeks and you came home and you said, "Honey, I'm on my way home. Please make."
She makes really good stews.
All right.
Like stews and soups. Those are really very hearty, very...
you ever been to Fredericksburg?
Huh?
You ever been to Fredericksburg?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. And so she's a really... my mother was an excellent cook. And so my mother was...
You have to be.
My mom was like next level. And so my mom and my wife have been very blessed. And that's part of the reason I have to run so much, man. You grow up, you grow up, now to my mother and my grandmother, I've always been too skinny.
Sure. Yeah. Good Catholics.
Yeah.
Italians.
You're skin and bones, and you're like, no, I'm actually 10 pounds overweight and I need to lose it. No, sit down. Like, I'm going to feed you. And then, of course, if you say no, you look rude.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, that's disrespectful.
And so for a long time, my grandmother lived right next door to my dad in El Paso. So I learned, like, let me go eat at my grandmother's first. And then I'll come back to my dad's house with my stepmother. And then I feel more comfortable saying no to them. And so I would eat 2 meals, like, for everything. Because you went over there and it's like, let me just sit you down. And, my grandma was very much like, let me just give you this one thing. And then you sit down and it, like, the plates just keep coming.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the things that I really miss. Because both of my grandmothers have passed away now. And, that's part of the part that I miss the most is the family time you spend around a meal.
Okay. Before I talk about your socks, because I'd love to have a pair of those socks.
The LSC Online?
Yeah. What's
socks?
the deal?
You
didn't bring me a.
I don't want to be. I don't. Next time I'm gonna make sure your mug has socks in it. I'll be sure to get you some.
All right. So here's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
You got anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think.
I mean, you killed it. So look in that camera.
Okay.
And I want you to tell everybody how they can enroll or anything else you want to tell them how they get in touch with you. If you want them to get in touch with you or your office.
So my email's super easy. You can just email me, and that's usually the best way of getting it. It's Mario, M-R-I-O, like Super Mario Brothers, Mario. Mario at lonestar.edu. Mario at lonestar.edu. I try to make it as simple as possible.
And then what about enrollment? They just go to lonestar.com
Yeah, if you go to
lonestar.edu,
lonestar.edu,
lonestar.edu.
and it literally, like, I joke with our marketing folks all the time, like, you make it on the website, it starts trying to interact with you right away. It's like, hey, why are you here? Do you want to sign up? So really all you have to do is hit lonestar.edu, and we can get you in. But again, really for the employers in the group as well, email me whatever you need in terms of training. If you're out there in the market and you're like not seeing certain people qualified with certain things, that's what I'm really interested in. I spend a lot of time with employers learning about their business. I miss that part of being in private practice, because when I was a private lawyer, you could spend all this time with these companies getting to know their business, and that's part of what I miss. And now what I've started doing is, hey, can I come bend your ear for an hour? I just want to learn about your business. Because the more I learn about like the operational components of your business, the more I can tailor make programs for that.
Knowledge is power.
Yep.
Good deal. All right, good deal, man.
No, thanks for having me.
I knew it. I knew you'd be awesome.
Well, thank you.
Great suit.
Thank you.
Especially your buttons and everything.
So, thank you. This suit also, you see how many, and I didn't even plan
What time
this.
you got to get that back?
No, actually I own it. So I bought this at Suit Supply over at
Over where?
It's Suit Supply over in, what is it, Market Street?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where about this?
That's a good job, man.
Yeah, thank you. No, they do. Yeah. They do. That's where I get all my suits. And I get a lot of sort of questions about my suits. I bought them right there in the Woodlands.
Good deal. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Out to lunch today with the man, Mario Castillo.
Well, amen. I don't know if I'm the man.
Amen. All right. Peace out.